Welcome to the Nerdist Podcast number 826. This episode is sponsored by Loot Crate, which is a monthly subscription box service for gear that you will, I'm going to say, 100% enjoy. If you listen to this podcast, there is a 100% chance that you will enjoy most, if not all, of the stuff that's in a Loot Crate box that you would get every month. For less than $20, it's going to get 6 to 8 items, including licensed gear, apparel, collectibles, unique one-of-a-kind items. Send your future self 12 times a year some stuff that you will enjoy. It's just nice. Like if you had a crappy day and then all of a sudden you get your Loot Crate box and you start rifling through it, and it's just fun stuff. You have until the 19th at 9 p.m. Pacific time each month to subscribe and receive that month's crate. When the cutoff happens, it's over. Head to lootcrate.com/Nerdist and enter the offer code Nerdist for 10% off any new subscription. If you're in Canada, Australia, UK, they'll ship to you. There's more info on the site for that. And thanks to Loot Crate for sponsoring this episode of the Nerdist Podcast. Katie Levine, I see you eagerly awaiting to announce whatever is on your piece of the Nerdist Community Corkboard. What do you got? There
is a comedy festival called the Red Clay Comedy Festival in Atlanta. It's from September 29th to October 1st. And this year, Rory Scovel is going to be recording his new special, or filming his new special there, that is also going to be released by Third Man Records. Some of the other headliners are Colin Quinn and Clayton English. And then also the festival is partnering with Project Pap's Music Festival. And so if you go to the Red Clay Comedy Festival, your pass gets you into the music festival as well, that also features Run the Jewels, NoFX, Mastodon, and a ton more. You can find out more info at redclaycomedy.com.
Thank you, Katie Levine. This episode of the Nerdist Podcast is John Stamos, who is just like a nice guy. He's so lovely. He doesn't have to be. If John Stamos was a dick, wouldn't you be like, I get it?
Yeah, he's very handsome.
He's handsome. He's successful. He's got a $1 billion smile. And he just couldn't be nicer. He is on Scream Queens now, the next season of Scream Queens, which starts September 20th, Tuesday, September 20th. So watch him on that Fuller House coming back.
Yeah.
I found out during this podcast. Yeah, Fuller House coming back. So, so thanks, John. Thanks, John Stamos, for coming on the podcast. I think he's just at John Stamos on Twitter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I looked him up, yeah.
And this episode also... Oh, by the way, can I just say this? That At Midnight's on at 11:30 for now.
Yeah.
And we don't know if that'll be a permanent thing. I guess if you watch, it'll be permanent. And
what do you do if it turns permanent? Do you change the name?
No. Because at a certain point, a title just becomes like the brand of the show.
Yeah.
And, I think some people have been a little like, but it's not at midnight now. Why wouldn't you call it at 11:30?
Yeah,
like,
but those people shut up.
Well, wow, Katie, cracking the whip. But I sort of playfully justify it by saying, like, well, we announce a winner at midnight.
That's true.
You
do.
And the concept of the show is kind of like midnight. Like, these are a lot of the things that happen throughout this last day that end at midnight.
Yep.
So...
all fair points.
And honestly, I was always fudging it a little bit, because when I would say it's 11:59 and 59 seconds, it was actually always 12:01. But it didn't make sense to say this happened earlier today, because that just would have meant in the last minute.
That's
so I drew a line in the sand early on. I'm like, we have to say 11:59 59 seconds so that at least we can say this stuff all happened today. Now you might say, but then after 11:59 59 seconds, you took that time. Now it is midnight, so you technically can't say it anymore. And I would say, shut up about it. It's just television. Don't take it too seriously. But please watch it. At Midnight's on at 11:30 right now, following The Daily Show. And and honestly, tweet me or put on Reddit or whatever, just suggestions to improve the show that do not include getting a new host. Just suggestions, different ways that you would like to, because I think the show's really evolved. It really did start as this kind of fun, insipid game show about the internet with a lot of cat videos and
now you've won 2 Emmys.
Now we've won 2 Emmys. We just won another Emmy, and so I kind of feel like we actually are. The show is talking about relevant cultural things now, and we have been talking about the election. And I think we're actually a nice companion to the Daily Show. We're presenting a lot of the material, but in a different way, with a high joke per minute ratio. And I love the crew here, and I hope we get to do the show forever. This episode also brought to you by Stamps.com. Don't go to the post office anymore. I'm getting mad that you might still be going to the post office because it's such an inefficient waste of your energy and your time, and you could be inventing something with those minutes. Going to the post office is gross. It's just parking and lines, and
The lines are always insane.
getting knocked over by people who are trying to mail 30 things internationally to 30 different countries, and you don't need to do it. This is a better way. Stamps.com, it's like a postage meter, but not expensive and in your home. And you don't have to make a multi-year commitment. There's no hidden fees. You buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package from your desk, use your own computer or printer, and then get postage discounts that you can't even find at the post office. And Stamps.com is a fraction of the cost. You're going to save at least 50% compared to a postage meter. And avoid the post office. Sign up for Stamps.com. Use the promo code Nerdist. You're going to get a 4-week trial, $110 bonus offer, including postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com before you do anything else. Click the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in Nerdist. That is Stamps.com. Enter the promo code Nerdist. Here's Nerdist Podcast number 826 with Mr. John Stamos. Kitty, a roll of thing.
Now entering Nerdist.com.
Yeah, it was Comic-Con, which was already fucking 2 months ago. Oh my god. It's just weird. Time just is not.
That's, I know, you blink. We'll save it for the
Well, I think we're already recording now. We're already recording, so we're all good. Yeah. I ran into you at Comic-Con, which was really fun. Have you been to Comic-Con a bunch?
No, I was a virgin.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Well, I'm not I'm a huge fan of you.
Aww.
You're doing so well. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
I'm not much of a nerd. I'm a Disney nerd.
Yes.
But I've never been. No, I had never been, and I really loved it. I was very surprised. Everybody said, "Oh my God, it's crazy! You're not going to be able to, walk around." And people, it was just a bunch of really cool fans. Sometimes fans sounds like you're, presumptuous or something, like
Sure.
you're putting them below you or something. But they were just like a bunch of cool people that were nice.
It was really nice. Yeah, the Comic-Con's got such a good vibe to it. It can get very crowded.
Yeah.
But once you figure out how to navigate it, it's actually pretty
Best part was
fun.
running into you.
Yeah, that was fun. We ran into you at the old Zach Levi
That's right.
shindig.
Zach was nowhere to be found, but you were there, holding court.
I was there. I came in. I come in there's a window that I come in because I don't drink, so at a certain time of the night, I feel like there's a drop-off where all the conversations become not real anymore because people get so fucked up.
Right.
So I kind of come in where people are still not super drunk yet, and then I skate out of there.
I slipped out. I was with you. I'm on the non-drinking tour as well, so I was like...
Get in and out.
Yeah, right.
But I also have to apologize to you because you showed up last week and there was a schedule mix-up that was on our end, and I apologize. You came ready to podcast.
That's right.
It was our first day back from hiatus and my honeymoon, and I was literally in a meeting with every head of Comedy Central, and I didn't...
You were too sore to walk.
I got... there's a lot of pegging.
Pegging?
That's why I was too sore.
I just learned what that meant recently.
How'd you find that out?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, what does your audience know what that is?
Some of them
what
do.
do you talk about on here? I
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Pegging?
I mean, we talk about everything.
Oh, I know. Okay, good.
Yeah, like...
I heard, was it Rob Reiner?
Rob Reiner was on,
That
yeah.
was really good. We were driving there. I was with my girlfriend, and we were like, let's listen to Chris because I'm going on the show. And so the Rob Reiner was really sweet. And then I go, what else? I don't really know much about the podcast world. This is my first real good one.
Really... Oh, hey, nice. Well, it's really just a loose conversation, and the reason that I think they work is because people like you do a lot of press, and mostly it's in junket form, or you're on a couch for 7 minutes,
Right.
and it's like... I think what's nice about these is that it's interesting just to hear how people are in conversation. Like, for an hour, people will really get a sense of who you are. I don't know if most people know what a Disney person you are, and that is an area where we have a lot to talk about, because I just joined Club 33 a couple months ago.
Big shout out.
And I bought a Disney map, 1958 C Disney map that this guy had. I don't know why he sold it. But when he was a kid, he and his mom were at Disneyland. He had a map. He saw Walt walking down Main Street, ran up. Walt signed the map in ballpoint pen, and he had immediately had it framed.
Wow.
So it's this gorgeous condition map hand signed by Walt.
Is Walt spelled Walt?
As opposed
How much do you buy it for? How do you know it's a real signature?
Well,
I got a guy, though, by the way, who specializes in his signature.
boy, what if he's like, it's not real, and be like, no? It's
much-
almost more important to know.
Did you spend a lot on it?
It was more than, it was, I spent, it was not an exorbitant amount of money,
Right,
but
right.
enough. But what do you have?
Well, when I was a kid, I grew up right near Disneyland in Anaheim. I grew up in Orange County, excuse me, and that was like my backyard. I lived there and I loved it. And I don't know why I wasn't escaping from any sort of crappy childhood. I had a beautiful family and stuff, but I just loved going there. And my friend who I grew up with collected military stuff. So I said, I want to collect something like you, And I said, well, what do you like? I said, Disney stuff, So when I started to get some dough, I said, well, I'm going to do that. The first thing, Disney, it's maybe been about 15 years now. Disney started an auction on eBay, pretty close to when eBay started. Mm-hmm. And the first thing they were auctioning off was the sign, this big sign that was on Harbor Boulevard that says Disneyland.
Oh, my God.
And so I thought, oh, well, this is going to go for $1 million. I might as well go ahead and put it in. So I put in like the opening bid, which was like $35,000. And then I forgot about it. And then whatever the 9 days, however it was, I looked and I was, oh shit, I'm the winner. And I heard like Michael Jackson wanted it and this person wanted it. And it was the sign, And I kept refreshing it. I was walking around my office like, oh shit, what am I going to do? Each letter is 14 by 9 feet. So I was like, what the hell am I going to do with this, And I kept refreshing. And then I won it. I was like, oh, damn. So I have that sign, and I.
Where did you put that?
Well, I put it I had sort of in storage. I thought I'm going to put the D up behind. I have a guest house behind the guest house where nobody could see it, but I didn't think of Mulholland Highway that goes all the way along the back. So from Laurel Canyon to Coldwater, if you look to the left, it's a big D for dickhead. Lives there. Michael Jackson called me too.
What?
Yeah. And it was during.
Can I have that? No.
Yeah, it was. Well,
are you sure?
He's like, hey, John.
Can I have that? No.
No.
One more question. Can I have that?
No. Can I have? It was during a time when, there was some stuff going on,
Oh.
And he just left a message. He was with a friend. He said, hey, John, I really dig your stuff. And we should go to Disneyland sometime. I was like, I'm not going to Disneyland. Now I'm like, shit, I should have gone to Disneyland with Michael Jackson. What was I thinking? But that started it, I think. And then over the years, I've just, I've bugged friends that had stuff. I got a Dumbo for my 40th birthday.
From the Dumbo ride.
From the Dumbo ride. And I have some pretty cool stuff. But just recently, like the last year or two, people didn't realize you could buy it. And they had an auction at Eaton's or something. And all the stuff went for so much money. So now everybody's, knows that they can get it.
Yeah.
It's worth a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's I think after eBay became popular and people realized like, oh, I'm, as a person who lives nowhere near any of this world, I can just buy whatever.
Have a piece of it, yeah.
Now it's really hard to get. I have friends. A friend of mine has one of the old Haunted Mansion.
Oh,
the paintings that scroll,
right?
And it has the scroll marks down the side.
Yeah,
it's the woman sitting on the headstone.
It's cool. Neil Patrick Harris has a lot of.
He has a ton of Disney stuff. Yeah.
And who else has it? I mean, it's just hard to get. What was I going to say? Do you know any Disney people like?
Any of the Disney?
And I'm friends with like Bob Iger and and all these guys, and I'm always afraid to like ask. I asked one time. This guy was the president of the parks, and they were redoing Small World. And I said, hey, could I just get like a head or something? I said, what? I remember I was at dinner, and he goes, well, what Small World character do you want? And then it was
that sounds creepy.
Yeah. And I said, what's a good one? They said, the Can-Can Girl. I said, the Can-Can Girl? And then this whole Can-Can Girl showed up at my house.
Holy shit! That's amazing.
I know, it's cool.
Where do you put that?
Well, it's downstairs because again, it's a little creepy. I have a Dumbo in my front yard flying high.
But I feel like the Dumbo is sort of the preview of like I don't think anyone would think that was weird. Like if you have Dumbo in the front and then
it's super cool.
It's a Small World. I think that'd be totally fine. Yeah, I don't have anything big like that.
It's tough, yeah. Like I said, it's tougher to get. But it's cool. I don't know. My wife's grandparents were friends with Disney,
And
They own Disneyland, right?
they did not own Disneyland,
No?
but they were friends with him. And she said, I'm sure they must have had stuff, and I don't
Yeah.
know where any of it is. So I feel like the next several years of my life are basically going to be like Indiana Jones of Disney.
Yeah,
Disney,
right. When were you always a Disney?
Yeah. I moved to Los Angeles when I was 16, and when I was 17, I got my first annual pass to Disneyland.
Wow.
And I've had one ever since. And, when I was a kid, my mom's from Florida, so we went to Disney World and Epcot Center. And so I've always been a huge... That Sunday night... That World of Disney thing that would happen on Sunday nights when I was a kid, and they'd show a Disney movie and some cartoons. I mean, that was always
cool.
my favorite.
How did you get into Club 33? There was an opening?
I guess, yeah. There was an opening, and we
paid?
applied, and and we got it. We got in.
Is it because you're married into money now that you can?
I don't know.
Just off the top. I mean, I don't know. He, for years, no Club 33. Now it's when he gets married, and boom,
I know. It's
33.
I know.
187.
I know. I feel like it was. I mean, that was a very big thing. That was almost emotional. Like I was just to pass by that door.
Now you can take me.
I absolutely can take you.
They stopped letting that stuff out. Lassiter stopped. It's like because they were auctioning off everything on that thing. Not to go back, but like I have one of my coolest things is a devil from the end of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
You have that?
Yeah, there's like a little devil.
That's fantastic.
You got to come over.
One of the little guys who are suspended in the.
Yes, yeah. Maybe he gets hit by a train and then he's in hell and it's always creepy.
It's the Wind in the Willows. People don't even and. As they've updated Disneyland, I've always feared, I hope they don't get rid of Mr. Toad's, because no one really knows Wind in the Willows, and it's also, for a Disney ride, it's like, he gets drunk, and he goes to hell.
Yeah.
Like, the ride ends with you going to hell, and so it's just sort of a strange...
Kind of autobiographical...
Right, exactly.
Is that what
it's very... It was at one point very odd, but I'm sure Saget's told you at least a couple stories.
He did, but... Do you talk about that?
The drunk stuff? Oh yeah. I talk about it.
I've sobered up myself,
Oh, congratulations!
Year and a half or so.
Nice job, really nice job.
Bob, the other day I said I was coming to see you, Saget, and he was like, he has to own everything. He was like, Chris is my best friend. We were in a car accident together, saved his life. He's been sober ever since. Right? A little bit of that.
Bob was. We were very. I've been friends with him since the '90s. Wow. I mean, I know. Obviously. You guys...
you can have him. It's okay.
No. No, you take him.
You win.
But he really is such a sweet...
Beautiful man.
Lovely...
Beautiful man.
Good, loyal friend.
Yes,
and, he's one of those people that I feel like, every once in a while we'll text each other and I'll go, let's grab dinner. I'll go, great. And then 6 months go by. And
I threw a big 60th birthday party for him.
I did.
Invited you.
I was out of town.
And Bob said, when I brought this up, he said, he didn't RSVP. He didn't even RSVP.
Yeah, I was out of town. I didn't get back until the day after that. I remember the party was on a Saturday night and I didn't get back till Sunday. So
it was a funny deal because I wanted to throw him a party and he loves to play music. So I thought, I'll have it at my house and we'll jam, And then I thought there were some people like Norman Lear I wanted to invite and Don Rickles and stuff. So it might be hard to get up my house. There's steps. So then I had it moved it over to Jeff Franklin's house, the creator of Full House. Mm-hmm. And then it just kind of got bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, literally, I hope Bob's not listening. Literally, I'm in for like $60,000. I'm not kidding. And I'm like, shit, what do I do? Like I can't get out of this.
Some Disney shit.
I'm not, yeah, right. Who wants to buy a sign?
I'll buy it. Okay, you're dead.
Right. Michael. So really, it was like, and it was such an interesting thing because it wasn't his fault. It just got bigger and bigger. And yeah, bam, okay, let's get a thing. Let's have the big PA system. Let's get photographers. Let's get this and that, Catering, yes, but steak, of course, is Bob Saget. And I just didn't think about it. So I couldn't tell him. Like, what an asshole friend. And I remember I was so pissy that day. And I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, God, it can't be. It's not his fault. But, I got to go and make this the best day of his life and never tell him how much money I spent on his party.
Right.
And then he took me for my birthday, hand to God, to the smokehouse across the street from Warner Brothers. I swear.
Now, just out of curiosity, was it like so? That's like $50,000 at the smokehouse, right?
Yeah. I had wings and everything. How did you meet Bob? Comedy circuit?
No, I met Bob in the '90s. I did a show for MTV called Singled Out.
Right.
And Singled Out, when the series wrapped in 1998, we had our wrap party at this billiard place called Q's, which was in Santa Monica. There was one in West LA and one in Santa Monica. And we're in Santa Monica, and Bob was there with his nephew Adam.
Yeah, right.
And being a comedian and a huge comedy nerd, I mean, I knew a lot of Bob's stuff from the 80s.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, he just walks over and he's like, "Hi, I'm Bob. It's my nephew Adam. His mom's dead." And that was literally the first thing he said to me. And, we've been friends. We've been friends ever since.
What happened? You guys were driving drunk or something?
I never drove drunk. Bob had a few. I'm sure the statute of limitations has run out on this now from 1999. Bob had a few, we were drinking buddies, and I think that was our friendship dynamic for a handful of years. I'd just get a call from Bob at like midnight. "Where are you?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm at this bar that I'm too old to be at." But, at that point I was like 30, 29, 30 years old. I was at a college bar. So Bob was really too old to be there, but we would all hang out there because, he'd get the Danny Tanner card and people would be like, like all the young people, like, "Oh, he's Danny there." They loved him. So, I don't know. We were just, he lived in the Palisades or wherever it was he was living, and we were driving up Sunset, like right by the 405 where it's very
He was driving?
He was driving.
And the car flipped or something?
No, the car didn't flip. We weren't even in an accident.
That's what he said. Because you flipped over 8 times.
No, the car just... He's kind of dozed off a little bit, and the car jerked.
Yeah.
And we were like, "Whoa!" And of course, when you've been drinking, you think that's hilarious, and then in retrospect, you're like, "How did I not die? What a terrible idea!"
Did you just say, "That's it, I'm not drinking after that"?
That was sort of the beginning. I mean, it took a few years before I actually quit, but that was. When you start having a few of those moments and you start logging them and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, why am I doing that?
Yeah, and then, but a lot of it was my career was dead. I wasn't doing anything. I was, just bloated and drunk and gross all the time.
It's crazy how things can turn around so fast, right?
It really. Well, and the older you get, it just doesn't do anything good for you.
No. Yeah, I know. It feels good to.
And you still look 29.
I don't know.
And you're just like, I don't know. Is it the Greek genes?
Yeah.
What is it?
I drink Lori Loughlin's blood. Blood of Lori Loughlin. You said commenting earlier, like being around Bob and Dave was a great thing for me and it was a good combination because I was, came from an acting standpoint and I would say, well, how do we make this scene better? And and they came from a comedy standpoint, but I was a comedy nerd too. And I got to meet so many great people through Bob and Dave, Gary Shandling and, a lot of their comic friends, I'd go to the store with them. And
you just said Norman Lear and Don Rickles.
Bob had the relationship with Norman Lear. I had the relationship with Don Rickles for maybe 20 years now. He's been sort of like a mentor, father kind of figure in my life.
I've only met him once, but he was the sweetest.
Yeah.
The sweetest guy.
Just a brilliant guy, but just a genius. Like you go back and listen to his stuff and his timing, and I love it because not as much now. He's 90, 91, and he's slowing down a little bit. But like a lot of times, I got a record of his called "Hello Dummy," and he hadn't heard it. And he said, "What do you want for your birthday, kid?" I said, "I'm going to bring Hello Dummy over. I'm going to play it. And I want to stop and ask you about jokes."
Oh, that's genius.
It sounds genius on paper, but he was like, "I don't know how I did that. I'm doing Rickles." But we got to sit and listen to it together. I could never do stand-up comedy, but I'm fascinated by comedy and rhythms and construction of jokes, and what you guys do is really interesting to me.
Well, Bob's rhythm, like Bob, I discovered Bob in the 80s on the Dangerfield special, and his rhythm of joke telling, which is just this ceaseless. I have no friends, I have no life, and I'm not your mom.
Right.
I loved his because he never would slow down. And it's like the audience would always you'd kind of have to grab on with him.
Or you'd lose it, yeah.
And
you watch these guys too, like a Bob or all these guys. It seems like they sort of have a Rolodex in their heads and they can get to it really fast if they need to, especially if it's ad-libbing like Bob does or Rickles or whatever.
Yeah, I think with stand-up, with acting as an actor, the funny thing about acting is it's the thing that it's a job that you actually do very little of when you're doing it. When you're on a movie or a television show or something, you do it in a chunk of time or just for a couple hours at a time. But with stand-up, you can go out and do it, several hours a week where you're just on
Chris,
stage.
I work 14 hours a day. What are you talking about?
Are you acting that entire time?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I mean, like you go to
right.
work.
Well, theater, you do. I've done a lot of theater, so you.
Theater's great. That's a perfect analogy, actually.
Right.
So with theater, you probably get better or more attuned to it really quickly because you're just doing it. You're on stage so much, and you're doing it. You're doing 8 shows a week or whatever, and so that. As opposed to television or film acting, which is what I meant before, but you evolve very quickly because you have a direct relationship to the audience.
Right.
Whereas when you're on film, it's like you do stuff and then
Right.
it's kind of in someone else's hands.
Yes, yeah,
you know.
yeah. That's the beauty of theater because you go like, well, this is what I want these people to see right here, right now. That's what they're going to see. Nobody's going to mess with my performance or take special takes or cut it out. So
And you get feedback.
And then you get feedback, yeah. But
so
then
the
pitfall of that is you're doing the same show every day for 6, 7, 8 months.
I know, but that's what's great about stand-up is that you don't have to stick to anything. You can tell the jokes that you told, or you can riff, or you can't. Once you're in and I think that's why I never thought theater was something I want to do. It's like, but then you're just trapped.
Sort of. I mean, I did cabaret for about 8 months, and that was incredible because the MC, and I remember getting the script at first, it was like MC ad-libs this, MC ad-libs. I said, shit. And you really the character really played with the audience, so you could change that up. And, your approach is different each night with different shows. But yeah,
But you played with the Beach Boys, which is, how does that come about?
I don't know. I was a super fan, of them. I remember, I think, hearing them. I had an 8-track of Endless Summer. And I just became I loved him. And I knew the guitar player, and this guy named Jeffrey Foskett. And I became friends with him. And then I was on General Hospital at the time, I think, and I would go to shows. And they had a sort of a loose show. I mean, especially during the 80s, there was a lot of different musicians, and there were different camps. The Wilson camp sort of had 4 or 5, 10, 8 players, and the Mike Love camp had, there was 14, 17 people on stage, And I remember Mike Love, they said, you want to play Bob Moran at the end of this encore or whatever. It was great, yeah. And then they were going on to play at the Washington Monument in D.C. on the 4th of July. And Jimmy Page was on guitar.
Jesus.
I said, do you want to come out and play, the encore, 4 or 5 songs? I'm like, yeah. It was $1 million. The first show, the first in the afternoon, it was in Philadelphia at the steps there of the... and I think it was 1 million people or something.
Jesus Christ!
And then that afternoon was at the monument. And my friend was the guitar player, Jeff, and he got he had to go. They asked him to go teach Jimmy Page what keys. So he goes, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah." So we go. And he's in this big hotel suite, and there were these anvil cases all around. And I thought maybe they were guitars, or they were like devil shit. It was devil shit, like whips and. Bondage stuff.
Fantastic.
Isn't that great?
That is fantastic. That's exactly what I want to hear.
Yes.
That's exactly what I want to hear.
And I remember him offering me like a Jack Daniels. Like, oh, no, can I have a light beer, whatever. And he had this girl with him that sort of, and we were on the road for 3 days or whatever, and he had a girl who had like a different bruise and a different sort of cigarette burn.
From all the S&M stuff?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I think musicians now, it's like, oh, I just bring my Xbox everywhere. It's like, I think it's changed quite a bit from the 70s, from the 70s and the 80s.
But then somehow my friend went off with his roadie, and I swear to God, Chris, I'm sitting next to Jimmy Page, and he goes, okay, what key is Bob Moran in? I said, F sharp. I can't fucking solo an F. He's screaming at me, I said, I didn't pick the key. Sorry. What about fun? E flat. I can't fucking solo an E flat.
Please don't hit me with anything.
Yeah. That's
the greatest concert of my life.
That's how it started, and then I just kind of hung around them for years, and then I had them on my TV shows. I had a show before Full House called You Again with Jack Klugman. Again, like these old, great, comics and actors I love hanging out with. And I had them on there. And then Full House, they came on, and then I recorded with them. And
God, General Hospital, it's like the idea. I mean, reality shows kind of killed soap operas to a degree, but that. I mean, you were on in the sweet spot.
It was a sweet spot,
like early 80s soap operas. I mean, my mom watched... I remember... Yeah. I knew what the storylines were. Like, if I stayed home from school,
Right.
It was crazy.
I just sold a show because I've been thinking a lot about that time and that period, and I'm doing a show about sort of I grew up in Orange County, like I said earlier, and it was very, straight Republican, And I got on TV, and I was working at my father's restaurant, and I got on General Hospital, and I would work on the show during the week, and then work at my dad's restaurant on the week. He wouldn't let me quit. He was like, "You're not going," And so, just to keep me humble, he didn't think it was gonna, this acting thing was gonna last, and so. But I love the idea of, I'm sort of making the show about my point of view into that world. I mean, I auditioned on a Monday, and I shot it on a Wednesday, and it aired a week later. And like you said, it was during a time when, they were on the cover of Time magazine, and Luke and Laura were getting married, and Sammy Davis Jr. was on the show, and Elizabeth Taylor, and it was a big deal, And I was thrust into sex and drugs and weird fame. I mean, it's a weird fame. We were super famous, but... we were still kept down because we were, soap opera guys.
Right.
And it was a really interesting time.
I mean, to get to say like thrust into sex and drugs. I mean, it was just like all of a sudden.
It really was.
They were just throwing it at you.
Yeah, I mean, I was not super popular in junior high school. High school, a little maybe towards the end. I grew into something, and I was like, "Oh, girls are, But that hit hard, and I was on the cover of all these teen magazines, and that was another whole weird world. These teen magazines. There was an editor of I can't remember, it was Tiger Beat or one of those, and she was friends with my mother. Her name was Doreen Leoy, and she sort of helped, get me on these magazine covers and kept me going. And again, was very good friends with my mother. And then later, years later, ended up marrying Richard Ramirez, the Hillside Strangler.
Oh my God!
So, I mean,
it's super fucked up.
Weird, yeah. But that whole world was weird, the teen idol thing. And then, I mean, there were girls around. Demi Moore was on the show at the time, and Janine Turner, and there was a lot of some drugs, at that time. I guess I was shielded from it for the most part, the drugs, but there was all of a sudden there were women. Ken Schreiner, who's still on there, played Scotty. He was like a sort of an older brother. Am I rambling too much?
No. This is good stuff.
He was sort of an older brother. I haven't really talked about that. He was an older brother, and we would go to Chippendales for girls. Now, so what would happen is it would be from like 8 to 11 would be the show, and then from 11 to 2 it was a club. So he had the deal. So we'd go in through the back right at like 10:55, and 11 when the show ends, we scoot right. We were the only two guys in a room full of women slipping off their seats
because they've just seen this.
They've just seen the show. Yeah, the dancers
show.
are gone.
Right.
No, it was pretty. It was all that.
I mean, was
that time?
Was any of it? Was it fun, or at a certain point was it like, oh, I don't know, this kind of feels weird, or it feels empty, or was it just like, oh, we're young and it's fun?
I was 18 years old.
Oh, okay, then never mind.
My whole life I wanted to be on TV and be famous and get girls. Oh no, it was the greatest. I loved it. I mean, it was so bad. I would sleep in my dressing room. We'd hang out all night, and the only thing that was I wanted to be on a sitcom. I loved sitcoms. I grew up watching Happy Days and all the Gary Marshall shows and that type of. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be on a dramatic soap opera. So when I was only supposed to be on for like 5 episodes, and then they were going to kill my character. And then a lot of mail came in or whatever. So I stayed around, but they had me for nothing, like $400 an episode or something. Mm-hmm. So when my contract was up, I was like, I'm going to leave. And Gloria Monty, who was like this incredible producer at the time, she said, you can't go. I said, I got it. I want to do comedy. She said, you'll never work in this town again. But I ended up getting out, and I did one show on CBS, but then the Jack Klugman show was after that.
I mean, it is tricky. I mean, obviously, television changed now since then. Sitcoms really ruled in the at least up through the 80s and into the 90s. But it was still, not an easy thing to get. A sitcom, to get a show that gets picked up and then continues to go is a very difficult thing.
Tell me about it. I've been trying to. Well, I had this. Maybe you had this too. It's just like, I didn't put up any boundaries. I didn't know. My parents did that too. You want to be an actor? You want to get on TV? Go, do it. I didn't really think. Now you think too much about stuff, right? But sure. I just was innocent. I was like, oh, of course I'm good. This is what I'm going to do, and I did it. I don't know how.
Well, I think, if you don't create a lot of the boundaries, because it's really easy to be like, well, I'm not good enough, or why would I get this, or that's never going to give this to me. I think I still do that. I mean, and it's a business that really, if you have even some of that stuff, you really have to weather because the business just beats those down hard.
Yeah.
It's just like it just peels back the onion layers and then just starts punching you in the soul.
As you get older, maybe you are. It's just like, fuck it. I mean, it's cool. Yeah, I don't get that. All right, fine. I'll get something else.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's when you've had success and failed and had success and fallen down and had success and fallen down. At a certain point, you're like, oh, I guess not everything means everything. And it's like you can, you just kind of go through periods.
And as soon as you have that attitude, shit starts coming like crazy. I wish I had it, at certain times in my life, where I'm at now, obviously. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't stress over it. And people can see it. They go, oh, he's not fighting too hard for this. It's not.
Yeah.
Let's give it to him.
Yeah, because there's something I think that turns people off when they feel like you need them or you need it and they feel like, well, what's wrong with this person that they're so desperate? Why did they let's give it to this guy who clearly doesn't need it. He's got all the answers. I mean, that's kind of, I feel like that's what happens.
I went up the ranks with Jason Bateman and took him to lunch one day. I said, this was like a few years ago when I was struggling trying to figure out what my next move was. I said, what's the secret, man? He goes, I just stopped giving a shit. Like, I just went in cool. I said, how do you do that? He goes, Lexapro. All right. But he said, as soon as I stopped caring, like, it all kind of started happening.
Well, all the caring stuff is just all ego stuff, It's ego and it's fear and I think there's something to the idea of feeling like, I think what helps you not care is feeling like no matter what, I'm going to be okay. If I don't get this thing, I'm going to be fine. Think about how many... there must have been jobs that you almost got that you didn't get, and you felt like, well, that's it. I can't. And then years go by, and you go, it's actually kind of good I didn't get that thing.
For sure.
It would not have worked out well.
And I think that with women as well. I was telling one of these kids, now all of a sudden I'm like the old guy on the set. By the way, what just happens like in a blink of an eye. You're like the old, I'm on Scream Queens now, and they're all a bunch of young kids, and I was giving someone advice. They were, whining about their boyfriend or something. I said, you're not going to be with this guy. I mean, if I was with, whoever.
When you were 19, 20, 21.
Yeah, it's like, forget, I would kill myself if I was still with that girl. You're not going to be with that person. Don't worry about it. Right? I mean,
Yeah, and you've been through, and you get phases throughout your life, and you've been single and you've been married and you've been single, and like, does any part of it, do you have a preference to any part, or does everything sort of like have good and bad points?
In a relationship?
Yeah, being in a relationship, not in a relationship, married, not married.
Well, you know, I mean, my feeling is like it's like having the one, like, I'm in a really good relationship now, as you are. Having that one person that's your best friend and your soulmate and there for you is better than, fucking a bunch of girls and hanging out and doing whatever you want. But it's not that much better. But it's better. Right? I personally think it's way better, and I'm not just saying that 'cause I just got married. Okay, yeah.
I'll tell you why, because the time, I love you so much. But the times, I'm just sort of, I'm kind of a serial monogamist, and I'm not a good dater, and I just love being at that point with someone where you're like, oh, let's just get in our pajamas and watch movies.
Yeah, no.
Like that, I feel like it's so much work to try to navigate. This person sent a text. What does that mean? Well, what is it? Like, I overanalyze everything. It's just so much energy.
100%.
And I feel like most people are wrong for you. Like, most people in the world are just wrong for you. And it's not going to work out. And so the exercise of futility gets
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
No, you're right. It is way better. And you forget about it until you're in it. And it's been a while since I've been in a great relationship. So you're right. It is way better. I was saying, we were listening to your podcast. It was really sweet. And I go, we had this long drive. So what else is on these podcasts? Do they have any like sort of sexy, and so she's flipping through and she finds one on this deal, and it was sort of like a sex, like just telling stories, like an erotic, story thing.
Yeah.
And we're driving down 405, and they, it's about two doms, which I didn't know what two dominants was, right? And it was a girl and like these two guys, and it was sort of getting really sexy, and she's getting ready, and her boyfriend's there, and then the guy comes in, knock, knock, oh, there's, Jim is here, and, and I looked at Jim, and we're both really started getting a little turned on, and then she says, and then Jim, he still looked good for 60. It was a little, my hand to God, I swear to God, it's a little pudgy, but then I look at myself in the mirror, and I've got short gray hair. I'm like, turn this shit off. Go back to Hardwick. We'll listen to him. And
you're listening to granny porn.
Yes, I mean, I couldn't fit my hand to God. So that was my podcast.
So we had a conversation about knitting while he tried to get hard, and
he was pudgy at 60. Damn it.
Yeah, well, there's a podcast for everything. I mean, we're in
guess.
this kind of golden age of podcasts because there wasn't, for so long, media was dictated by giant companies because the cost of technology was just it was forbidding to be, like, you just couldn't do it and get it out to anyone, but now the distribution is cheap
thing. And you know, like you said, you could sit and you can kind of get the feel of somebody. The only place I did it was Howard Stern, which, he's the greatest. I don't know if you listen to him.
Yeah, he is essentially, he's kind of even though he's not a podcast, he's a show.
Right.
He's kind of the godfather of this style of conversation.
The last 5 years, I think he's really clicked into it. But you can get, he's a genius, and you can get trapped, even just by yourself. Which has always been a little scary with these things, right? I mean, I don't know has it happened to you? Because people listen to this and they go, "Oh, Stamos said he spent $60,000 on that." Not that one, but
Yeah, I mean, but
because you feel so comfortable.
You feel comfortable, but I always I don't. My goal with these is never to put anyone in a position where they feel weird, or if someone ever said something that they were like, "Oh, can you actually take that out?" Because it's not my nature to go, "You said it." I don't want people to make news that way by embarrassing themselves if they feel uncomfortable at something. I'll just take it out.
Yeah. So I don't think Howard tries it either, but he just likes to, obviously just dig. I remember I said something. I can't remember what it was about, somebody I was dating, and I asked him to pull it out. I think he did on one of the.
Well, he just goes right for the. So you bang a lot of chicks back then? Hey, what was that like? Is she really good in bed? It's just like he just goes right for the.
Yeah,
I might dance around things, and if you feel like talking about them, they'll come out. But I don't ever want, because I just feel like people are happy when they're comfortable and being conversational, and I don't ever want people to feel put on the spot ever, because I'm not trying to break news.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Just good conversation.
I just want to talk to
You're
people.
Just a nice guy.
I'm
Chris.
okay.
I'm happy for you. You've been married how long? 2 weeks?
3 weeks.
And they said it wouldn't last.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Good thing.
Still,
how long?
We're in counseling now.
How long did you date?
We dated a year when we got engaged.
And then how long before you got married?
It was a year. We got engaged after the Creative Arts Emmys last year, and then we got married just a couple weeks before this year. Yeah, because I knew. It was really easy.
But how long did you date before you got engaged?
A year.
So 2 years, the whole thing.
2 years has been the whole thing. Yeah.
Great.
So
kids?
She wants kids, and it's actually the first time where I don't know if this will make sense, but if you're with someone and they say, "Oh, I want to have kids," or "I want to get married," and something about your body just goes, "Don't do that." Like, it just something that you can't put your finger on tells you that it's not the right thing to do.
Right.
I never had any of those red flags with her. I was like, let's have kids. I mean, they're loud and they shit on things and they'll destroy all of our stuff, but let's have kids.
Hey.
So
good for you.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 32, almost 32,
Great.
I think. Yeah.
Perfect.
So we're right in the sweet spot, and I'm 44.
It's all right.
I know it's fine.
I'm 53.
But you look fucking great.
Fuck it. It's not all about looks.
No, but it's nice that you look great. But you know what? It's not even just that you're handsome. I mean, you look good because it's obvious that you take care of yourself. And I think that is looking good is sort of the byproduct of just making healthy choices. I just think people should just make healthy choices.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I mean, I try to keep stress out of my life, I guess, maybe.
How do you do that?
Well, I mean, you tackle each thing specifically, right? I mean, what's stressing you out today besides...
It's always minutia. It's always dumb. I don't ever... Whenever things are when things really blow up, I'm actually pretty good in those instances. It's just the minutia of things.
But shit always works out, doesn't it? Like we said, it always sort of finds its way, and you stress so hard about shit. But a lot of people stress so hard about things that never happen. Yeah. That's what I try not to do.
Well, that becomes, I think, almost kind of like... so it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of superstitious,
right?
Where it's like, oh, if I stress about this thing, it won't happen. I think people do that, right. But I think some of us are just toilers, where we just kind of need to, and I think that's part of I think it probably all goes back to the same obsessive drinking stuff.
Yeah, right.
I really.
How long have you been sober?
13 years.
Pretty great, huh?
Yeah, it's great. And what was there anything that made you decide I don't want to do this anymore, or just a general
It was time. It was time. I got a DUI too, which was really awful, embarrassing, and heartbreaking. And I mean, I knew it was time before that, but when it got to that, I was like, oh my God, what a fucking idiot I am! Like I could have killed somebody, or it was not. It wasn't good.
I mean, it in some cases, those can be the best thing. That can be the best thing to happen if no one gets hurt, because it's a wake up call.
That's what it was. Yeah, I lost my mom, and I just had I was going through extremely rough time, and it was just time. It was time. And you look back and go, God, what I had such a beautiful childhood, like I said, with my parents, and what would they think of me like right now? Like I can't do that. I got to get back to. I had to reset myself to who I was and who I was brought up to be, discipline and honesty and a good person, and it was like, oh, I know how to do it. I stop fucking around.
It's hard because especially if you start, you get thrust into this world, when you're 18 years old, and it's fun.
Yeah, you could handle it then.
And then at a certain point, it shifts, and it doesn't just become fun. It's sort of like, now I need to do this, but you don't really know exactly when that happens.
Right.
But because, the constant, pursuing that stuff kind of stunts you emotionally, so you're not ever actually dealing with anything.
Right.
Then at a certain point, you're like, well, now I can't deal with anything, and now I need this.
Even more. Yeah, that's
and then that's where you hopefully can get lucky enough to get help. And
get straight. Yeah, I had good help. It was all part of like not wanting to grow up either. I mean, talk about Disneyland and Peter Pan syndrome and all that. I mean, it just meant, and I didn't, for the longest time, still, like, I didn't have those tent poles of, kids and a real job or whatever, and it was all kind of easy going, and it feels good to be grown up now.
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I mean? Did you fight it? Didn't you?
Of course, I fought it, but now I sort of appreciate. I kind of appreciate that I had to learn. It's kind of nice that I didn't just know. It's kind of fun that you kind of earn it,
Right.
It's like, well, this wisdom comes from experience, not just, I don't take it for granted. Like I didn't just know. I had to really learn it.
Yeah. But you can't really take advantage of it if you're not, sort of on top of it, right? Of everything you've learned and everything you. I mean, sometimes I'll go like, Jesus, how do I know that, or how can I do? Well, I've been doing this for 35 years, but I wasn't clear enough to do it. But I was just afraid of being like, I guess being grown up seemed like old and fuddy-duddy and not fun and whatever.
Well, that was a byproduct of our parents' generation, right. And that was, I think that was, our parents grew up in a post-war era where it was this pursuit of an American dream, and it's like you just get a job and you work, then at a certain point you retire and you get a watch, and I was really lucky. My dad pursued what he wanted. Most people, I think, didn't, and so they just got old quicker because they just wanted to retire at 50 or 55 and then not have to do anything anymore, and they got in their pajamas and by 4 o'clock and watched Jeopardy.
Yeah.
So to us, our parents' generation, 55, 60, was actually kind of like, well, that's it.
Yeah.
And in our generation, it's like, no, it can actually start then.
Totally. And it's just a more full, rich life, day, or whatever moment you're in, you can sort of dig into it, appreciate it more, in this state, I think.
Yeah.
It's been good. And it's just nice knowing you get through, like, it's, again, getting back to an adult, I mean, it's okay to play in this place because it's actually a cool, it's actually a cool place to be.
Yeah.
Do you think, like,
I do.
Settled and secure in yourself, and little shit doesn't bother you. And
taking
it's
responsibility for things.
Yeah, right.
Which is nice.
And taking responsibility for yourself. Like, you can, sort of being clear like this, you end up during the day and you go, wow, I was fine today. Like I was myself, and I gave 100% in every moment. I was sort of present, and each microtransaction during the day, I was who I am, and I was a good person through that.
Right.
I don't know. Are people turning the radio off now?
No, not at all.
We're supposed to talk about
no.
This nerd stuff.
This is nerd stuff. We're sort of nerding out about the human brain.
Right.
But I think when you're younger, this idea of like fighting time or fighting age or fighting, when you think back, I mean, would you want to be 25 forever? Like, it's not the best. It was not the most secure time in my life.
Right.
And I mean, I don't think I would want to go back.
No, I mean, I guess it was good for us when you're that age. Being like you said, like being in a bar at 30, 40, whatever you were, like it's just become, it's not cute. It's not, there's nothing. Yeah, it took me longer than most to grow up, but I like it, I think.
When you think about kind of all the experiences and all the jobs and all the shows and everything, like what do you think of when you think back? Do you think about the work, or do you think about your social life, or do you think about partying, or do you think about your friends? Like when you kind of think back on it, what do you reflect the most on?
I think all of it. I mean, I had, during those times I had a lot of good times, partying or whatever, like you said, but I do kind of monitor my life through shows. Like I was on this show during this time, I was on that show. Full House took a lot of those years, I guess. But it is, you do sort of wake up and go like, oh, well, I'm getting on here now, right? I don't know. I just feel it lately because I'm on this show with Scream Queens with these kids. So I'm like, Jesus. And I'm telling them, like, have a good time, man. Enjoy your life while you're there.
And you know what? They won't listen.
No.
So it's, like that's just part of just part of the deal. And honestly, a lot of them, as cool as they might try to play, they're probably shitting their pants most of the time and freaking out. Right, and it's just it's a very chaotic chaotic time.
I spent a lot of time like glomming onto mentors and to people, like I said, Jack Klugman's and Gary Marshall was one of those guys for me. And so all of a sudden you start finding yourself being, in that position. And I guess that's, it's about paying it forward or whatever.
Who was Gary Marshall kind of your biggest mentor?
Well, Jack was first, I think. And then Gary, Jack was so great because I was doing the sitcom and Punch Up Night was Wednesday nights, and he would make me sit in the room to learn about joke writing, construction, and structure. Of these sitcoms, and these big writers, Gary Marshall and Jerry Belson and Harvey Miller, and all these really great old guys would come in, and I'd sit in the corner, and I'd say something, shut up, kid, whatever. But I sort of connected with Gary, and then when Full House came around, Bob Boyette and Tom Miller, who Gary worked with on all those shows. Gary suggested me for the part of Jesse on Full House. So, and then then Jack and Gary were very close to The Odd Couple, and then Jack passed away, and then I was with Gary a lot, and I've just always been attracted to. I don't know, attracted is the wrong word, but I've wanted to be around guys that older men that had a lot of wisdom and shit that I could learn from. I've always hung out with
Sounds very Greek.
Is it? Yeah.
It sounds very Greek, like the apprentice and the mentor and the
right.
It's very Socrates.
What do you hang out with? Comics and stuff?
I hang out with comics, and I hang out with people that are healthy and interesting and love what they do, and it's actually not even it used to be all comics, but now it's
What about with the new wife? Did she come with friends?
Yeah, she's got great friends.
That's great, huh?
Really great friends. Really nice people. Talented people. Interesting people.
Right.
Photographers and just interesting people who just kind of... I like anyone who went after something that they were passionate about,
right,
and just kind of figured out how to build their life around that thing.
It's so
that's
good to
interesting
be
to
around
me.
that. And it's good to expand your social circle. It doesn't mean you have to get rid of old friends or whatever. It's just always good to sort of look for those people, I think, to bring into your life.
I agree, because I really think the idea, and of course this is going to make me sound old, but I think the idea about getting old is just being not open to new things,
right,
and new
totally,
ideas and new experiences. And
100%.
once you stop fertilizing that soil, it just dries up,
Right.
Yeah. So you have to, I think it's good to go outside what you would expect that you would like.
100%. And that's why now I'm hanging out with these younger guys. Pat here, my assistant. I'm like, what music are the kids listening to? I hate that. And I find myself doing it. I don't know if you do. It's like, oh, that music is shit.
What is it? What do you like, Pat? What do you like? 311? What are you into? What do you like? The Limb Bizkits? What do you like? What are you kids? You goddamn kids with your rolled up jeans and your combat boots. You got.
But that's for me. That's the hardest part. Like, oh shit, I don't want to be that guy. So I got to listen to this new music. I got to hear what's happening.
I mean, I think
right?
I think it's better to just do it because you might have a good experience that you might enjoy.
I have, yeah.
But
technology I love, like that you got to stay with. Right?
Are you still playing? Are you still playing music?
I still play with Beach Boys quite a bit. I do, whenever I'm off and they're playing somewhere cool, I go, can I go to Hawaii with you guys? Yes.
Sure.
It's the greatest. Mike Love has a new book coming out today or tomorrow. I might as well promote that. Yeah.
It's actually coming out, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, yeah, because this is actually going up the same day we're recording, which is usually unprecedented. Are you playing solo anywhere? Do you ever just think like, oh, I just want to tour and do music myself?
No, I'm mainly a drummer. I don't love singing. I've sang, over the years, but it's not. I like rhythm. I love listening to melody, but I'm not good at notes. I don't have the. I just did Little Mermaid at the Hollywood Bowl where we, everybody. And it took me I had like a 3-minute song. I studied for like 2 months, That's the thing. I will work really hard at anything that I can't do. I always had that since I was a kid too, as long as we're talking about like aspirations. I was like, well, if I have enough time, I can learn it. If I have to take that. I remember I was on Glee and these kids learn the dance stuff so fast, It's like 1, 2, 3, 1, Fosse, Fosse, 1. Oh, and they got it. I'd be like, okay, great. I'd videotape it, and then I'd work all night with a dance person, So I do that a lot. But what was my point? Oh, I don't like singing, so I just like playing drums. Sometimes I'll play with other groups. I played because I guess I'm a celebrity or whatever. I got to play with like great people. There's Willie Nelson, John Fogerty. I played with a bunch. B.B. King. I played with sometime.
Any good stories? Any good like? Oh, I met this person and they were either good or bad.
They were all pretty cool. Willie Nelson, I showed up at a gig and the band guys were like, "Are you going to sit in?" I'm like, "No, like what? No, I just came here to watch. I don't know. No, Willie would love it. You guys. We have people on stage all the time." I said, "Well, what song? Where's the set list?" Willie doesn't use the set list. Somehow I got pulled up, and then there was two brothers, a guy who played like a snare drum and then a percussionist, and the percussionist said, "Here, just play all this stuff," and he wanted to play guitar, so I ended up playing like most of the set. and then Willie's done, and he's like doing his walk-off song. I didn't met him yet, and the manager's like, "Go up there, get up there," and like to get a picture. And he looked at me. I was like, "Hey," and waved to the crowd, and then got in his bus and left. I don't think I've ever spoken to him.
But you got to play with him.
Yeah, I've done it like 4 or 5 times.
That's amazing. You've had a lot of getting to hang out with your heroes and getting to work all this time and continuing to work and selling shows. And are you guys doing more Fuller House? Did you know if they're doing
it? We just finished the 2nd season.
Oh, you already shot it? Mm-hmm. Oh, fuck. I didn't even.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That was.
I heard it was like one of the most watched things Netflix has ever had.
It was the most watched show on television last year.
Jesus
out of Here, I'll Get Your Nerds Going. Out of Walking Dead. Out of all those shows. You're the Walking Dead guy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I talk about it.
There was they had this gauge called Symphony, I think, and Netflix doesn't endorse it, but someone else, I think, put it together to see who's really watching what.
Yeah, because they don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. But it came out that it was like Full House was the most watched show of the whole year.
That's fucking amazing.
It is amazing. I had the idea for years to go do a spinoff, and we couldn't sell it. And then finally, and all the networks didn't take it either. And finally, Netflix. We had a meeting when I said, Netflix is never going to do this, and it just exploded for them.
Netflix they're smart. They see stuff. They get it.
Did you watch that Stranger Things?
Oh yeah,
that's so good.
So good. I mean, the thing that's so brilliant about it that the Duffer Brothers did is that it's just sort of the meta show around the show of they really captured, like, if I had seen that in 1983.
That would be it.
That would be it. Like,
but without being cheesy, like without the shitty wigs and the the
it was
crappy
so
music
well
and
done.
Stuff. Yeah, it was beautifully done.
Yeah, all those kids and even starting with the D&D and then the Demogorgon and like everything that show.
Barb.
Oh,
so cool.
Barb.
When Barb died, a little piece of me died.
Barb.
That was it.
There's a Barb in all of us.
A little bit.
There's a little Barb in all of us.
She's cute. That actress saw that I tweeted something. She was like, "Oh my god."
Oh, that's fantastic.
So my girlfriend's a bit of a nerd, and she's been to Comic-Con a million times.
Yeah.
So she loved it, but I don't watch. You were talking about demigods and whatever. She said something last night, a term from that upstairs or down.
Oh, the upside down.
Yeah, upside down. And I go, "What's that?" She's like, "You watched the fucking show. You said you're obsessed with it on Twitter. You should know what it means."
It's the parallel universe. So if we're all walking here,
right,
then the upside down is on the same line. But
is that hell?
No, it's not hell. It's just an alternate universe.
So what happened? So the monster was just one monster.
Yeah, the monster was a monster in this alternate universe that
Right.
basically these cracks began to form, and Matthew Modine's company was kind of investigating this.
I want to go with him for Halloween. Would that be
It was
good?
Matthew. That would be great.
Right?
That would
Put
be great.
Your girlfriend, your wife, as Winona Ryder with those big eyes.
Yep.
Go with the white wig.
But then she'd have to cry the whole time because Winona Ryder had to cry in every scene of Stranger Things.
So wait, keep going because I'm still confused about what happened. So they were just trying to shoot that. What the kid, the 9? What was she doing? She was
11.
11.
Basically, 11.
I think I watched it.
They were unrelated.
This is what your audience is going. That fucking Stamos. What
The two things were initially, to my perception of the show, is the two things were initially unrelated. That Matthew Modine was basically kidnapping children
Right.
and doing science experiments on them. And she developed this ability that kind of created this rip between the universes and kind of opened, the universe, they exist kind of, like in tandem, like they're sort of on top of one another, but we're here and they're here. So we're on the same place, but just in a different universe.
time.
And so she kind of opened that up.
Right.
Yeah, she could penetrate. She sort of opened that up. So they were related, but they were sort of unrelated at the same time. And so it summoned this creature, which was hunting, which was actually...
Look at Chris. Now we're getting it's time to go, and he's so excited.
I know. Well, because the thing that was genius about it is because the whole story that happened in the show...
Right.
is set up when the kids are playing D&D at the beginning.
Right,
They
right.
basically set up this campaign, and then a version of that campaign plays out as the series.
Right.
And so that creature becomes the Demogorgon, which they then have to hunt, and so it just and the fucking theme song, it was so beautiful.
The music was incredible.
So beautiful.
The titles, all of it.
See, you could totally do something. You could totally do something like that.
What?
I could totally see you on Stranger Things, or I could see you on True Detective, or one of these limited run series that people do.
You're into The Walking Dead, though. That's
Of course.
Yeah.
You should do Walking Dead.
I haven't seen it.
Well, I can't. I don't have the power to.
I'm on Scream Queens. Have you watched it?
I have watched Scream Queens. Yeah, because Lydia is friends with Emma.
Oh, really?
And so we watched Scream. We were literally just watching it 2 nights ago.
Really?
Watching Scream Queens. Yeah, because we love anything horror.
Yeah.
Anything.
This is really good this season. We're in a haunted hospital or whatever.
That's great.
And it's this. It starts off with a Halloween party, in the 80s or something, and someone gets killed, and there's the character from the Halloween party that I think is killing everybody.
Yeah, that Ryan Murphy's really figured out.
Yeah, he's
how to make television.
Sure has.
He's figured it out. Yeah. You're welcome to come back whenever you like.
I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for coming back after the misunderstanding last week.
Shit happens. It's the theme of this whole hour here. That, hey, we don't get stressed over silly little things.
I appreciate that. And then everyone's
it all works out.
And then the mics go off, and then he walks and slams the door.
This son of a bitch! Fuck you! You fucking hippie! What'd you do to me here?
People call people hippies. It's funny to me. No one does.
Chris, I've tracked you over the years, and I'm really happy for you.
I appreciate that.
I remember meeting you so long ago, I think, with Bob. And then all of a sudden I started seeing you everywhere, and like, oh my, this guy's got the most popular shows, got the most popular podcast. And then, but I always knew you were a good guy, and I'm happy to spend a little time with you.
Thank you very much. Well, hopefully we can expand and hang out socially at some point.
I would love that.
As opposed to just podcasty. I actually was going to email you and say I'm so sorry about the misunderstanding. I realized I had no idea how to get a hold of you.
We'll switch.
So we'll swap
we also
info.
took nice pictures that day.
We did take some good pictures. Yeah, which are posted on the old Instagram.
I really appreciate you having me on.
Anything you want to plug last minute before we let you go? Anything you want to?
Queen starts September 20th.
Yep.
And the new season of Fuller House is sometime in December.
Fantastic.
And Bob Saget is, if you were really quiet, we can hear him complaining somewhere in the city.
Congratulations on being a well-adjusted, healthy, nice-looking individual.
For today.
Thank you so much, John Stamos. Enjoy a burrito, everyone.
Now leaving Nerdist.com. Enjoy your burrito.